Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Sam here, also known as the Muskie Slayer. Sam here from SG Angling, and I wanted to thank you for tuning in today. It is no coincidence that I am filming this video on Memorial Day. So I just wanted to take a few minutes here and just thank the men and women of our country who have laid down their lives for our freedoms. Every single morning, I grab my cup of coffee, I walk downstairs, I work from home. It's a super awesome gig. And I then, after work, go take my boat out, go fishing, and I don't even think twice about it. I think I take it for granted, to be honest with you. I think a lot of us here watching this also take it for granted. So just wanted to thank the men and women of our country for what they have done to allow us to have the freedoms that we take for granted every single day. All right, so now on to our regularly scheduled program. Today I'm gonna talk about, first of all, my new boat. I'm going to give you a quick little tour and then also tell you guys how to start a YouTube channel, the different camera setups I have, how to do it the low budget way so you don't have to break the bank doing it. And I'm also going to go through why I'm wearing this super funny hat. Stay tuned. Time to give you a little tour of the new boat. I got rid of the old Bass Tracker and have moved on to a Deep V for season 3 and beyond. So let me give you a little tour. All right, so this is a 16.5 foot Tracker Deep V. It's a 2002/2003. The old owner of it was the only owner of it and kept it in pristine condition. I cannot believe that this is a 20-year-old boat. 40 horsepower Mercury, starts up on the first crank, and obviously super clean carpet. He vacuumed it after every single use. All the electronics, the dashboard gauges, the depth finder, all work perfectly. You can see how unbelievably clean this is. This is a Motor Guide XI3, just a smaller version of the XI5. Notice there's absolutely no foot pedal here. So this is all controlled by this little handy dandy remote. So all you need to do is go in the back of the boat, hit the remote, get this thing up and going, and it even has anchor mode and can do custom routes. Super awesome boat. I'm super excited about it. Goes about 30 miles an hour. Definitely an upgrade from what I had before. This is also a full foot wider than the last boat. All right, let's get into the camera equipment that I use for my YouTube channel. It's getting sunny out here, so had to put the shades on. I mean, listen, I'll be honest, I look cooler in them anyway. Gonna go into the GoPros that I use, how I use my phone, my drone. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm gonna walk here to the back of the boat, and as you can see here, I have a YOLOtek stick. Now, a YOLOtek stick is designed to have a GoPro attached to the top of it, as you can see here, and it fits into the navigation light port. So if I unscrew this, take it out, that's how that works. And of course you can just go to the boat here, turn on the navigation lights, and that's how you power the camera. So what you do is take a little cord, you plug it in here to the port of the camera. Then you take this end here and you plug it into here, and it runs your camera the entire time so that you don't have to run on an external battery pack. If you do want to run it on an external battery pack, you can use these. I would get the 15,000 or stronger MAH is the units. I'll put them in the link in the description below. And this thing is awesome. Now, what do I use for a GoPro? This is a GoPro Hero 5. And you can get these on Amazon for about 150 bucks refurbished. Notice I also use these fancy schmancy camera filters. This is a ND filter. The reason I use an ND filter at the bow of the boat is because it actually increases the shutter speed, and specifically when the sun is in the background, it doesn't blow out the shot, which is obviously super cool so that you can see me instead of the sun. For this particular camera, I actually leave it running the entire time, because on the other cameras I'm running looping, and we'll get into looping in just a second here. But this camera has a giant SD card in it. It is 256 gigabytes, and it films the entire day, so that even if I miss something on the other cameras, I can go back to this one and look at the footage. All right, let's come back here to the other camera. Now this camera is the portable one. This is the camera that kind of moves locations throughout the episode. I'll get into that in just a second. But look at this little contraption I made. This is a little kind of deck extension slash storage that I have used for this boat. You can walk on this. The top comes off. You can store your battery pack in here, but also store anything else like your lunch or your water bottle or some fishing lures. And notice it has this little hole that I drilled in here for a 1-inch PVC pipe. And this 1-inch PVC pipe holds a camera. It's on a clip right here. It's on a gooseneck clip. And the reason I put it there is so that I can take it off throughout the episode, move it down. I can also clip it to the rail system here on the boat, move it over here, so that you're getting different camera angles throughout the episode. I also have the same type of GoPro on here. This is a GoPro Hero 5, but I actually run looping on this GoPro. So what looping is essentially is it's only filming the last 5 minutes of what you're filming. The 6th minute begins to overwrite the 1st minute. The cool part about that is that it doesn't take up as much room on the SD card, so you can use a 32 or a 64 gig SD card. But the other cool part about it is there's less film for you to deal with when you go back to the computer later on that day. So once you have all of the footage on the SD cards, all you have to do is plug it into your computer and you can upload it directly onto your hard drive or into the cloud. Now once you have all the footage, then comes the hard part of actually putting it into a video and putting it into your video editing software, doing all the editing behind it. That's a pretty sophisticated process, and is certainly not going to be something I cover in the video today. Has to be something for a totally different video at another time. Now for this camera, I use a CPL filter. The CPL filter does a number of things, but one of the things it does is it really reduces the glare on the water. It's kind of like a pair of polarized sunglasses for your camera. So CPL filters are super great if you're pointing your camera at the water, and that's an opportunity for you to be able to capture more action underneath the water when muskies approach the side of the boat. All right, so let's talk real briefly about SD cards. Important topic because you want to make sure to get the right ones, and you want to make sure you have enough memory for all the film that you are shooting for the day. First of all, I always stick with the Sandisk. I personally like the Sandisk Extremes. I like the V33A2. I like them because they can support faster frame rates, and they can support the higher end cameras. 256 gigs, that's for the camera on the stern of the boat. This Sandisk Extreme is only 128 gigs because I use it on my head and I'm using looping. You could even go down to 64 gigs or 32 gigs. For the 256, you get about 16 hours for 1080p filming at 60 frames per second. And then with the 128, you get half of that, so about 8 hours. And then 64 at 1080p, 60 frames per second, you get half of that at around 4 hours. And then you could get 2 hours with the 32. Frame rates is another one of those discussions. Again, frame rates are essentially the amount of, a simple way to understand it, the amount of pictures that the video is taking in 1 second. 60 frames per second is pretty standard, although you could run 30 as long as you're not doing slow motion. But if you're going to be slowing the shots down, let's say you take a 60 frame per second shot and you slow it down by half, you're going to get 30 frames per second, and you're going to get a little bit of a choppier shoot than if you did 120 frames. So you do need a little bit of a higher end computer that can handle the frame rates, and of course the SD cards, the faster SD cards help with that as well. But it doesn't hurt to go to 120 frames per second if you're going to be slowing the footage down, doing some real slow shots. It makes for a really crisp shot as opposed to the 30 frames per second or 60 where it's going to be a little bit more choppy. All right, you ready for the age-old debate? Head cam versus chest cam. What do you do? Well, behind me you'll see my head cam. That's a GoPro on my hat. Or you can do a chest cam. One of the things I would suggest right out of the gate to make things super simple, if you have a bunch of other cameras on the boat, 4 or 5 other cameras in addition to the camera that's on your chest or your head, I'd go with the chest cam, because you can take the audio from your chest cam and you can link it up with the video from the other cameras in your boat. But if you're like me and you only have 3 cameras running at any given time, I would certainly rely on the head cam in order to get better video footage so that you can see muskies approaching. If you wear a chest cam, it's really difficult to get super good muskie footage because number one, your arms are always in the way, but number two, the field of view is actually narrower on your chest versus on your head. It's wider, you get a wider picture, and you can see better what's going on because your head is kind of higher up, obviously, and it's leaning over the boat a little bit more as opposed to looking at your feet. You can also buy these special GoPro hats, which are designed to hold a GoPro mount. So the GoPro mount fits in this little spot right here, and it allows you to put the GoPro on your hat instead of wearing a head strap. A head strap can be a little bit difficult because it actually puts pressure on your head and kind of hurt, you know, a couple hours into the day. So I really like these, and they're great for putting GoPro Hero 4s on them because GoPro Hero 4s are super light. As you can see here, I've put this GoPro Hero 4 on my hat, and I've taken the wire, tied it to the snapback part of the hat so that if the wire gets pulled while I'm fishing, it's not putting the pressure on the USB port, it's putting it actually on the cord and on the hat instead. I then wire it through my shirt and put the battery pack in my pocket. This is what a chest cam mount looks like. So you can wear these chest cam mounts as well, and that'll give you really good audio. I would also suggest putting what they call a dead cat on your camera to reduce the sound of the wind. For those animal lovers that are out there, this is not actually a dead cat. Keep in mind, however, that the disadvantages of wearing a head cam versus a chest cam are your head's always moving around like this, and so the stability of the camera is not super great. And then also the audio can sometimes not be as good because you're not talking into the mic, which is here, you're talking into a mic which is a lot higher up, and sometimes the wind has more access to your head blowing over the top of your head versus being protected by your chest. The other thing I've added to my repertoire this year is the Telesin underwater dome. And this, you very simply put a GoPro in here, and you can get those really cool shots with the fish as you're releasing it, where you can see halfway under the water and halfway above the water. These are super, super cool, and I've really liked them so far. Super easy to use, it's very plug and play, and they're completely waterproof. I think at this point, some of my neighbors are starting to open up their windows. People are coming out of their homes, and they're wondering, why is this guy in his driveway talking to himself? But anyway, I wanted to show you one other piece of camera equipment that people often don't use when they're out on the boat, and they should. They're smartphones. Smartphones are super awesome because they have the auto focus feature, so you can focus on yourself when you're holding up a fish. They're great for B-roll shots. So I would definitely use your phone. And I always carry it on a little mount like this, and has a little clip on it, and so I can actually clip it onto this pole right here, and also do some other B-roll shots on it. All right, so I have shown you 4 cameras. Here comes the 5th. You ready? It's the drone. This is the DJI Mavic Mini. Comes at a price point of about $500 with all the extras, $600 with the Fly More combo. You do get propeller guards, you get 3 batteries, some other cool things. But this is a cool drone because it's super small. As you can see with the wings folded out, it's really not a ton bigger than my hand. And it's pretty quiet and goes pretty much unnoticed when it's any higher than about 100 feet. I like this drone because it is small, super easy to handle. One of the things it doesn't have though is follow me mode. That's pretty much a deal breaker when you're in the boat. So if you have a drone that doesn't follow you around automatically in the boat, then you're gonna have to get a trolling motor that has spot lock, because the higher you have the drone in the air, the wider your field of view is, but the lesser amount of detail you have in the shot. As you get lower towards 30, 40, 50 feet, there's more detail in the shot because you're closer, but unfortunately, it's hard to keep your boat in view if you're not locked and anchored down in one spot. This thing also has some super cool automated shots. You can do a droney, which basically puts the center of focus on either you or the center of your boat, and it actually drives backwards while you are fishing. So you don't have to worry about controlling it. It'll just go backwards while putting the focus point on anything of your choice. Same thing for the circle shot. The circle shot also puts you at the center of the focus shot, or it could be the center of your boat, and it just does a circle around you. You can also do a helix where it goes farther away as it's circling around you, or you can do just a rocket shot where you look straight down and you just push the button and the drone shoots up straight in the air like a rocket. And obviously that makes for some super cool B-roll footage as well. But obviously if you get super good at flying the drone, you can learn how to do some of the cool shots yourself manually, and learn how to kind of spin the drone as you're shooting it up straight in the sky and changing the gimbal or the camera on it. And it's super cool. But I love this drone because it has some really cool features, awesome camera. Haven't really had any major issues with it. Obviously the only cons of it would be that it doesn't have follow me mode and track me mode, but that's okay. It's still a cool drone, and you can kind of fly it under the radar. You really don't need a drone license to fly it because it's under 250 grams. And you could fly it in Canada as well, as long as you're in those fly zones. All right, guys. Well, that is it for the episode today. I wanted to thank you so much for tuning in today. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of preview here of what you might need on the boat if you're going to invest in cameras. Maybe you're not even going to do the video editing or anything at all. Maybe you're just going to be rolling the cameras so that you can kind of go back in the footage and see some cool shots of you catching fish. That's totally fine. Everything that I have talked about today, I'm going to put it in the link in the description below. There's ways to cut down the cost, and obviously I'm going to send you those links as well so that you don't have to break the bank doing it. But super cool to be able to start your own YouTube channel and be able to have content out there. So thanks again for tuning in. If you haven't yet, please do make sure to scroll down, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram, SG_angling, and Facebook, SG Angling as well. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.